City Council will weigh some major service cuts. Wildfire smoke prompts air quality issues. And the fallout from the Titanic submersible disaster.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. Nearly $1.5 million in service and staff cuts are being recommended by City administration. It's coming to City Council on Monday in response to Council's budget season directive to limit the overall tax levy hike to 4%.
If approved as is, it would bring the cancellation of some bus routes, as well as the closure of Nebing Arena and most outdoor rinks. Vasilios Bellos reports.
Some significant service cuts are being recommended to City Council.
It's difficult for administration because we are providing these services and we think these services are important.
City administration compiled a list of 28 service items to eliminate, which would save $1.5 million. That's based on a City Council decision during the 2023 budget process to achieve a 4% tax levy hike. One of the most significant recommendations is the closure of Nebing Arena, a facility with approximately 4,000 users. It's also being recommended to reduce outdoor rink operations by 80%, resulting in 31 site closures. City Manager Norm Gale explained some of the criteria when compiling the list.
Usage by users, revenue, expenses, and the targets that we had. We came up with, at this point, at this stage, in our view at least, the most palatable options for council.
2 bus routes would also be shut down, including one in Nebing and one that serves Fort William First Nation. The city didn't consult the First Nation regarding the recommendation. The cuts from all the list items combined would result in the loss of 11.5 full-time equivalents worth of employees.
We need to be helping out families and not making cuts where it hurts families.
CUPE Local 87 President Derek Fournier, whose union represents workers at Nebing Arena, feels the cuts will hurt his members and the community that relies on these services. Fournier believes if the cuts are necessary, they should be coming from the city management ranks.
There's inflated management. There's more directors and supervisors and that we've seen ever, but there's a lot of salaries there that they're paying that they may not need to.
The process to prepare for the 2024 budget season is already beginning, with a budget review calendar coming to council on Monday as well. City Manager Norm Gale warns that if the community wants a lower tax levy next year, cuts will go beyond what's currently being recommended.
Much more is coming in order to keep the tax levy below 5%. And people will hear that and say, well, that's very high. Relatively, yes, it is. To drive it even lower, it's more millions of dollars. This is the start.
CUPE Local 87 is organizing a gathering in front of City Hall Monday at 4:30 before the meeting in opposition of the service cuts. Vasilios Bellos, TBT News.
Air quality alerts are in effect for much of the Northwest, including Thunder Bay. Environment Canada warns that forest fire smoke has caused high levels of air pollution. The Weather Office advises people to reduce their exposure to the smoke as much as possible. According to the Ministry of Natural Resources, smoke in the region is likely coming from active fires in the Nipigon, Red Lake, and Sioux Lookout areas. Residents are urged to use the website firedsmoke.ca to keep track of changing conditions.
So the smoke impact on communities is affected by wind direction. So you would have to keep an eye on weather conditions to see what direction the wind is heading and if the communities might be impacted. And it also depends on if the fires are exhibiting extreme fire behavior. So if there are fires that are exhibiting fire behavior, they will be putting off more smoke, which will contribute to the smoke that we are seeing in areas of the Northwest region.
The smoke continues to be a problem despite rainfall that's helped manage dozens of fires burning in the region. Bazubiak says as of today, no communities are being threatened by wildfires, but the forest fire hazard remains extremely high and the restricted fire zone is still in effect.
The last of Hydro One's 4 community info sessions was held at the Oliver Road Community Center last night.
A handful of local residents came out to provide feedback on the draft environmental assessment for the Waasigan transmission line. Carl Langdon has the story.
Thursday night's info session was relatively quiet, at least in comparison to those held in Kaministiquia. The July 7th deadline to provide feedback ahead of the environmental assessment's final draft is quickly getting closer. Mike Grant of the Northwest Ontario Prospectors Association, who maintains active communication with Hydro One, spoke highly about his interactions with the utility.
They've been very receptive and very professional. I think they've been willing to listen. I don't know how much of what we have suggested to them will be put into action, but certainly they have given us every indication that they take it very seriously.
Hydro One Director Sunny Karanakaran emphasized that any comments received from the public would be carefully reviewed, and the outcome of those reviews will be used to revise the draft EA. He also noted that any feedback provided at this stage of the process will be considered with the same level of care that was given to feedback received in earlier stages.
It's really important that when we deliver this project, we're being considerate of the feedback that we have received, and we want to make sure that our solutions that we utilize to develop and construct this project respect the wishes of the members of the public.
Karanakaran also provided us with a response to prior questions relating to whether rural service boards were consulted in the early planning stages of the Waasigan project.
We've reached out through various ministries as well, and those ministries have follow-on outreach that they do. Further details behind that's available on our website.
Karanakaran also pointed to the records of consultation contained within the terms of reference, which describe multiple incoming emails from individual residents of Kaministiquia, along with outgoing replies from Hydro One. Carl Langdon, TBT News.
Well, big election is just days away in Toronto. The city will elect a new mayor on Monday.
The most recent poll shows Olivia Chow still maintains a solid lead heading into the final weekend of the campaign. Natalie Johnson has the details.
Anna Bailau's biggest boost has come in just under the wire.
The momentum feels so great out there. That's what I'm measuring this campaign on.
Her endorsement from John Tory, who she is hoping to succeed,
Anna's a leader. She's not afraid to make tough decisions.
Has surged her to second in the latest poll. Main Street Research reporting that although Olivia Chow maintains her strong lead at 30% support, Anna Bailau is now a strong second at 22%. Anthony Furey at 13%, Mark Saunders at 12%, Josh Matlow, Mitzi Hunter, and Brad Bradford in the single digits.
There's only one person who can catch Olivia Chow at this point, and it's Anna Bailau. If you're Olivia Chow's campaign, you're probably, looking in the mirror and saying objects may be closer than they may appear.
Tory's endorsement now going out in robocalls to Toronto voters.
Hi, John Tory here, and I'm calling on behalf of Anna Bailau. This election, Anna Bailau is the right choice for mayor.
Underdog Anthony Furey is now polling in third.
Yes, I'm making an appeal to all sort of center-right voters to get on board with the Fury momentum, absolutely. But I'm also a reasonable guy. I want to work with everyone, and I want to make this city better for all families. So I'm honored to hear from some center-left voters that they are also supporting me to clean up our streets.
There are more people in Toronto who do not want Olivia Chow to be mayor than people that do. But the reality is there are too many candidates, and we're splitting the vote.
Ultimately, though, Chow is still the candidate to beat.
Olivia Chow wanting to reflect back to the 1990s, that only worked for her and maybe a few of her privileged friends. This city needs to get moving. That's why I am in this race.
We cannot afford someone like Olivia Chow. We will find closed doors at Queen's Park and at Parliament Hill. As mayor.
The question for Bailau's campaign is, will the boost be enough? There is no prize for second place. Natalie Johnson, CTV News, Toronto.
An Indigenous couple from British Columbia is walking across the country, hoping to raise awareness about missing and murdered Indigenous people. Cameron and Charity West started walking in Alberta at the beginning of May and plan to finish their journey in St. John's, Newfoundland. The couple has been in Thunder Bay to rest for a couple of days before they head back on the road tomorrow morning toward Nipigon. A ceremony was held today near the Terry Fox Monument to celebrate the West's accomplishment thus far and raise more public awareness about their walk. Charity West says they want to spark additional conversation about the crisis surrounding missing and murdered Indigenous people and give non-Indigenous people the opportunity to ask questions in a safe space.
All of our Indigenous populations know what's going on, and we have a lot of non-Indigenous allies or friends that would message us and be like, this is great what you guys are doing, keep going. And I'm like, okay, well, the point is so we engage you guys because it's understandable that they haven't been exposed, right? So you can't understand if you're not exposed.
So this is why we need to continue to take to the streets. It's still, it's disheartening and discouraging that we have to do this, but we are going to continue doing these kind of events until we are recognized that this is a national crisis.
The West's journey can be followed through their Facebook group called MMIP Awareness Walk, Steps to Bring Canada Together.
The City of Thunder Bay has added some canine attractions to one of its off-leash dog parks. The dog park on the corner of Beverly Street and Winnipeg Avenue has been closed yesterday and today, allowing city crews time to install a triple dog loop, a seesaw, and an A-frame ramp on the property. The additions cost the city just under $10,000 and came at the request of dog park users.
Yeah, it was based on sort of community input and feedback that we'd received over the years as we've been operating the dog park. So we listened to those ideas and over time found this solution. Obviously, users need to be mindful of the safety for their dogs when they're using it. But what we've installed is basically it's there to use if you choose to. There's a lot of other space in the dog park that you can still use the dog park and not necessarily interact with these pieces.
The dog park will reopen tomorrow morning. Halverson says if this pilot project is a success, similar features may be added to the other dog parks in the city. Another giant cruise ship made its first visit to Thunder Bay today.
The Viking Polaris is the identical sister ship to the Viking Octantis, which has made a number of stops in the city since last year. The Polaris and its passengers and crew were welcomed with a bagpipe salute around 8 o'clock this morning. The luxury cruise ship carries 370 passengers and 250 crew members. A few of them peered over the side to take in the music. The Polaris will make 6 one-day stops in Thunder Bay over the summer on its travels from Duluth to Toronto and back. City Tourism Manager Paul Pepe says the vast majority of the passengers will partake in shore excursions during the 11-hour stopovers. This will be a busy weekend at Pool 6 with another cruise ship arriving tomorrow.
Tomorrow, Saturday, we'll be welcoming back the Ocean Navigator from American Queen Voyages. They'll be making their second and final stop of the year here in Thunder Bay, back at the Pool 6 dock. And then the Polaris will be back here on Sunday morning, so with all new guests. So the Polaris is on a 14-day itinerary between Duluth, Minnesota and Toronto, Ontario. So it'll be heading down to Duluth, leaving this evening, and it'll be turning around in Duluth tomorrow, and it'll be back here about 9 a.m. on Sunday morning for a day stop.
Meanwhile, the tourism division has just opened its new visitor kiosk at Pool 6 with a log cabin theme to welcome people coming off the cruise ships.
We'll turn to weather now, Mitch. It's a bit of a shame that they came today when we have all this smoke in the air. A little hard to see all of those attractions.
Yeah, visibility was definitely a key factor with this smoke in the area, especially this morning where you looked outside. Not only could you smell it, but can't really see too far, especially over long distances. So not the best for driving either, but the good news is that smoke has at least tampered off a little bit, clearer at the moment, but it is expected to stick around for a couple days. The temperature also extremely warm today, up to 27, feeling like 32. So with the smoke and the extreme humidity, temperatures not the nice to head outside for the day. The wind from the northeast gusting from 6 to 17 kilometers an hour. Now, talking about this smoke, not only is it bringing reduced visibility, but air quality issues throughout much of the region, as you can see, caused by these two larger fires out west and pushing farther east, bringing all this local smoke into the area. Lots of haze expected to last into the weekend, including here in Thunder Bay. Now, as we head out west, other than the smoke that is really affecting a lot of the region, temperatures fairly warm in Fort Frances, Dryden and Kenora with sunny conditions. They're expecting some rain to make its way in, which could be pushed into Thunder Bay the next couple days. We'll get to that in just a little bit. But farther northwest, a little cooler in Red Lake at 20, with Pickle Lake up to 25, clouds in the area. No rain expected tonight, but they are going to see some local haze sticking around. Now, even warmer in Armstrong at 27 with plenty of sun in the area, along with Greenstone at 26. fairly cloudy throughout the night, while it's going to clear up in Sault Ste. Marie at 28, and then heading into the morning, they could see some local rain affecting the area. Now, tonight, the temperature is going to drop down to 16 with overcast skies. We are going to see some of that local haze and smoke sticking around overnight with clouds in the area. The wind's going to be gusting from the north-northeast 7 to 22 kilometers an hour, but there is some good news on the local fire front, as there's plenty of rain on the way. I'll have those details in just a little bit.
Okay, thanks a lot, Mitch. Well, it was yesterday that we found out from the U.S. Coast Guard that all 5 people aboard that Titanic tourist submersible had died. It's, of course, an international incident, and today we found out that Canada's Transportation Safety Board is now investigating. We'll have all the details when your Friday News Hour continues right after the break.
I imagine that the best they're going to do is potentially get sonar images and maybe get some video and some photo